Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Polarized. I'm your host, Molly Dare, bringing you today's latest breaking news, starting off with a very familiar name, Monica Lewinsky. Monica is making headlines once again, this time in a very positive way. If you remember, she was the former White House intern who notoriously had an affair with then President Bill Clinton, making not great headlines back in the day, and in my opinion, treated somewhat unfairly. And she's back reclaiming her power, reclaiming her story, and I absolutely love this for her. In her new podcast, Reclaiming, she describes it as, if you're interested in unexpected conversations that go uncharted places, are remotely self-aware, and like to laugh, then please join me as I continue to find my public voice on Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky. That's me. I will have honest, wide-ranging interviews with all kinds of people, recognizable names, regular folks, experts, and friends about what it means to reclaim what's been lost or taken in the broadest sense. Every week, I'll draw from my own unique experiences, like, say, surviving a global scandal at 24 years old, and delve into the personal and often messy ways people find their way back to themselves. And because I love a good tangent, we'll probably also touch on other stuff too. Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky premieres February 18th. Going to share a few highlights with you from her interview in Rolling Stone, where they say that she retells the story of her journey from scrutinized White House intern to Hollywood producer and anti-bullying advocate. Coming out of 98, I lost my anonymity. I lost my future. I lost my sense of self. I think I lost trusting myself in many ways. I fell in love with DC and the White House and the job and the environment. And then very unfortunately, I fell in love with my boss who was married and also the most powerful man in the world. What followed was an inappropriate relationship that lasted for 2 years. Lewinsky, now 51, said that once you pass 40, you start to recontextualize your younger years. What I thought was happening in those 2 years in DC, what I thought this relationship was, I've come to understand it in different ways. I think that it was something where there were real emotions involved, but I think I believed that there was a future. I think I believed that I mattered a lot more than I did. During the scandal and subsequent presidential impeachment hearings, Lewinsky was subjected to harsh and unprecedented media attention after former President Bill Clinton admitted to having an affair with her while she served as a White House intern in the 1990s. The 1998 incident has been reframed by some after the hashtag #MeToo era delved into the power differential between Clinton, their then president, and the 22-year-old Lewinsky. I think we can all agree. I mean, the Rolling Stone article goes on, and I really implore you to read it in its entirety. I think we can all agree that how she was treated back in the day was not very kind and with a very different lens than if it had happened today. Just looking at the age difference alone, the power differential, I think it's a very, very different story and different headline. I also would just commend her on taking the mess and turning it into her message and using the podcast forum to do so. I think this is a fantastic move for her. I love that she advocates for anti-bullying because Lord knows she went through her fair share, and just really, really hopeful that her podcast does well, that she's received well, and that she's going to be given the grace that she deserved way back then. Good job, Monica. Another familiar name back in the news this week is Meghan Markle. And you guys, you keep talking about her, so I'm gonna have to keep reporting on her. So she did her very famous rebrand a week ago from American Riviera Orchard to As Ever, which, as always, anything that Meghan does has a mixed review of people who absolutely love what she's doing and then the critics who are going to critique what she's doing. And this is a tale as old as time. So the biggest critique has been she has come under a little bit of fire with the rebrand name because it is the same name of a small clothing company that's family run based in New York City. And the owner did speak out. I'm going to read a little bit of what he has said. First of all, he does not own the trademark As Ever, which is important to note, and that he would not be changing the name of his company. And he's exploring all possibilities. He says, I'm a very small business. It's a family run operation. I'm essentially a one-man band. The new venture has the power of money, of Netflix behind it. Even if I wanted to do something, I don't think I have the behemoth of lawyers and money that are behind this. It's also important to note that As Ever, Meghan's lifestyle brand, is not going to be making clothing. So to me, I don't really think there's much of a case. I think he's honestly getting more eyes on his clothing line than he ever would have with her launch of this brand. And so I see it just as a win for him, honestly, in general. There's no competition. She's not going to be creating clothing. And I think it's a win-win for all involved. So for those of you wondering why the name As Ever, Meghan goes on to say, as ever means as it's always been, or some even say in the same way as always. If you followed along since my days of creating the TIG, you'll know this couldn't be truer for me. I still don't know what that means. If I'm being honest, it was a lot of words that really didn't mean much to me. But if it means something to her, then that's all that matters. Along with this rebrand comes a new logo, which kind of looks like a crest to me. It incorporates like a palm tree and these two hummingbirds. And it said that the palm trees are reminiscent of their home in California. And these birds are her and Harry's favorite bird. So to them, it is their new family logo, family crest, what have you. If they love it, that's all that matters. And I'm sure we're going to keep talking about Meghan. Her new lifestyle series with Love Meghan debuts on March 4th, and I'm sure everyone's going to be talking about it, and we'll be talking about it back here. Luigi Mangione back in the news. He just had his pretrial hearing on February 21st. There is also a new documentary that just came out about him, describing and detailing his dark descent and what people are saying almost an obsession he had on the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, who he gunned down in broad daylight in downtown New York City in a shocking crime that had us all kind of chasing him through New York City, through Central Park. He was eventually found in Altoona, Pennsylvania, in a McDonald's, thanks to a tip from a worker inside. He was found with a manifesto detailing his feelings on the CEO and kind of the healthcare system in general. And he became a very polarizing figure already because the women have gone crazy for this man. And you ladies, we need to raise the bar, okay? This man, has a great smile, but he is also a killer, okay? We can do better, okay? Raise the bar. We awoke to the shocking news of this crime on December 4th. And as I said, he was arraigned on the 21st, or he was brought in for his pretrial hearing. This is playing out kind of like a movie. The shell casings said delay, deny, and depose, which is a common term by critics to describe an insurance industry strategy designed to reject claims. And many people are unhappy about claims being rejected, which is why he's become this polarizing figurehead for some people who are so angered by the healthcare system. But let me just explain to you the 11 counts that he is being charged with, okay? These 11 counts include stalking, murder, and terrorism in New York City. And if these charges of both federal murder and terrorism, if he gets convicted of these, could carry the death penalty. So ladies, we're not going to see this man for a while. It's time to move on and put that aside. Surprisingly, as he prepares his legal defense, this is in the People magazine article, he has the moral and financial support of a large number of private citizens who appear to believe his alleged crimes were justified by anger over insurance industry practices. In this manifesto, it kind of alleges that, you know, we are all being wronged by the insurance industry, and he needed to bring attention to the wrongdoings, and that is why he did what he did. After accepting donations of $300,000 to his defense fund, Mangione released a statement on a newly launched website saying he was overwhelmed by and grateful for everyone who has written me to share their stories and express their support. So this new documentary, Who is Luigi Mangione, which is out now, it's airing on ID, but it's also streaming on Max, traces the path of a once promising student who allegedly transformed into a radical killer, as well as the ascent from humble origins of Thompson, the CEO of one of the nation's richest corporations, who prosecutors say became an assassin's target. The documentary synopsis goes on to say it's the story of two men who at one point of their lives shared a lot in common before taking different directions, and authorities claim ending up together at the scene of a horrific crime on a Manhattan sidewalk. They were both their high school's valedictorians, both who everyone expected would be incredibly successful. Based on the evidence that we've seen so far, it sure seems like their lives intersected. Born into a wealthy family in Maryland, Mangione attended Baltimore's prestigious Gilman School. He also had enough smarts to get into the University of Pennsylvania. It's like you don't have to brag when that happens. It speaks for itself, says a classmate. he had everything going for him. I think that is the big surprise. He's an attractive man. He's a young man. He's very smart, great education, great family. So it's always intriguing when they fall into crime. It is said while studying computer science that Mangione, who had Lyme's disease, developed brain fog, a debilitating system that attacked his thinking and decision-making. In some Reddit posts, he details his struggles, noting that he had to stop playing chess with his roommate because he couldn't remember strategies. He was very, very frustrated, which a lot of his friends have reported. The brain fog became almost an obsession for him because it's something that he can't overcome. After graduating with both a bachelor's and a master's degree in 2020, Mangione eventually moved to Hawaii, where while surfing, he suffered a life-changing back injury. And this is where the healthcare comes into play. He underwent surgery in 2023, and he posted an X-ray images of multiple screws in his lower spine from this operation. He claimed to have never fully healed. He became more and more isolated, and he was still active on social media in early 2024, and he posted a positive review of Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski's manifesto on Goodreads. After a trip to Japan focused on self-discovery, Mangione kind of dropped off the map, and his family has said that as well. He kind of went MIA for a while. Friends were checking in. They were sending him text messages. He wasn't responding to a lot of them. Only weeks before the murder of the CEO Thompson, his mother reported him missing to the police in San Francisco, where she believed her son had been staying at the time. Okay, he was not there. He had already checked into a youth hostel in New York City. When police eventually arrested Mangione, they said he had a 3D printed ghost gun, which is what they call it, fake IDs, and a letter to the feds. That reportedly stated that the parasites in the health insurance industry had it coming to them. A lot are believing that he is going to mount an insanity defense. The People magazine article says that would defeat the entire purpose of what he allegedly did and why he did it. I would expect they'll challenge the evidence as presented in court, and I hope there are jurors who sympathize with him. This is going to be one of the most widely watched trials for sure, so I'm sure I will be reporting back soon on this case. Another documentary making news right now is the murder of Gabby Petito. This documentary I just watched, and now I have more questions than answers, you guys. There's a lot that's not adding up for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you. For those who aren't familiar with this case, Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie were kind of travel vlogger couple that were going across country in their van that they kind of remodeled into like having a bed and a kitchen, and they were just traveling, seeing the wonders of the country and vlogging about it. And of course, as with a lot of things, what you see online was not exactly what was happening behind the scenes. And he was reportedly a very controlling, very jealous boyfriend, fiance, and she had a lot of anxiety about it. And it was just, you know, it was very, very toxic. And so there is video cam footage from the police a few days before her murder of them being pulled over, and you can see that she's very upset, and he's, you know, very upset too, not as upset as Gabby. And the police end up separating them, but putting him in the hotel for domestic abuse victims, and they let her go off in a van. So she spent the night by herself in a car and in the van by herself. And that really upset me. I know it upset everybody that that's how that happened. And then a few days later, she was murdered by him. And so we'll get to that in a second, because the family is actually going to be passing a bill about this, but I'm going to get to that in a second. Okay. The other question that I know we all have is, you know, the parents say they had no idea. They have no idea what happened to Gabby. He never said anything. He just, you know, that she was gone. She's missing. No way. Okay. On the day that she was murdered, he made a 50-minute phone call to his parents. They then wired a very large sum of money to the lawyers. Okay. You don't send a large amount of money. I think it was like 25,000 or something to lawyers unless you know something really bad happened. Okay. And you need to lawyer up immediately the same day. I couldn't get over when the police went to their house and they acted like they knew nothing and they weren't going to say a word and they weren't going to talk. I mean, guilty, guilty, guilty. I mean, horrible. That was infuriating to watch. Unfortunately, both people who know what happened are now gone. The other confusing part of this, and this may just be me, but the family went to the Tetons and Spread Creek, to the spot where Gabby was found, and they spread her ashes there. And I'm just going to tell you guys, if I ever, God forbid, get murdered, do not bring my ashes back to the spot where I was murdered in. Okay. I will come back and haunt you. That is the last place I would want my ashes spread. I'm just saying, I thought that was a very odd choice, just being honest. Okay. The one nice thing about that, I'm sure it gave them peace to be in that spot and to see kind of like what she last saw, which were, the beautiful Teton Mountains, and it's beautiful there. But in the photo that they showed of the family kind of gathered together, there is this amazing round orb right in the center. And I do believe that that's Gabby letting them know that she's okay and she's there with them. It was also a very important part of the documentary that brought up the question of which cases get highlighted in the media. And most of the times it is white, attractive women. And there's someone in the documentary who says white women get way more attention than Black, brown, or Indigenous women go missing. And media is such a powerful tool, and it makes all the difference in locating victims, and that it's not right that others are not being portrayed as much as, beautiful white women. And I think that's a valid argument. And it's something that really needs to be discussed. And I'm glad that that was raised in this documentary. The family is, I alluded to this, but the family is now advocating for a domestic violence bill where police now have to ask 11 specific questions to assess the danger of a domestic violence situation. So a mistake that was made in Gabby's case is never made again. And I love that this family is coming together to advocate for this. I always think it's great to make your message. And I think this is a very positive way to do something in her memory. In the United States, nearly half of all women will experience intimate partner violence at some point in their lives. That statistic is staggering to me. There is a website, if you or anyone you know is in a situation like this, called wannatalkaboutit.com, which I just want to put it out there. If this resonates with you in any way, or someone you know and you want to get help, that is a website with a lot of resources. Also, the Gabby Petito Foundation has many resources on their website as well. To date, no criminal charges have been filed against the Laundries. In 2022, the Petito family did file a wrongful death lawsuit against Brian's parents, but it ended in a settlement in 2024. I also thought it was really beautiful that the mom and the friend have beautiful matching tattoos to Gabby's now in her honor and memory. And I think they are doing her memory such justice in fighting for this to never happen to anyone again.